was in kindergarten. So apparently, and I'm telling this story because I think a lot of people in my neighborhood knew about this teacher. So I had a kindergarten teacher named Miss Harris, and so at John Eager Howard, and personally, me and Miss Harris got along. I think my father was a cab driver, so he used to drive her to and from work and from school. So we had a pretty dazzling relationship. However, a lot of the other students had a very different relationship with Miss Harris. She was a bit of a, I guess you could say, a disciplinarian, as we've mentioned here earlier. And so I think another reason why we got along is because at kindergarten, I already knew how to read and write and I guess do math. However, many of the students, kind of don't know how to do that so far. And I think one of the things that to me was kind of shocking, even then, or at least it didn't make sense, was that she often would say that for students who didn't know how to read, that, well, if you don't learn now, you'll never learn how to read. You'll never amount to much. You aren't, so she basically, and it wasn't just like, I guess, criticizing their, I guess, interests. It was more so like name calling, more so like tormenting students. So at a certain point, she had kind of like a Schadenfreude type of demeanor where she would get real pleasure out of seeing students like cry and fail. And apparently, so I mean, years later after I left John Eager Howard, I remember I met another student, or a former student of hers, actually Dominic, who we kind of talked about. We were like, yeah, we went to John Eager Howard together. He was like, yeah, I went to John Eager Howard. I had Miss Harris too. I was like, you did too? It was like, well, she's just as mean and I guess tormenting. He was like, yeah, of course she was. He was like, but I think she died recently and she had a heart attack. And many of the students, when they found out, they were cheering. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. So from what I can tell is that it was, I guess, students after students, a generation of students, because she taught for quite some time. And I think what's interesting is that many of the parents that we kind of just talked about, since they're single parents, they don't get a chance to kind of come to the school and the classroom and to see how teachers, I guess, treat their students. Because I think a lot of them would be kind of shocked at the behavior of some teachers when students aren't exactly measuring up to their expectations. So I know, for example, my father had ever just come into the classroom one day, he would have had a very different relationship with Miss Harris than he did. But yeah.